That might be some
It's a
great,
sandbox.
wide
It's a
shots
soapbox.
in
It's Bandbox.
Welcome to the Real Study with your hosts, Mr. Snidbits,
I was pleasantly surprised.
Black Girl Marvel,
I cried laughing. That was hilarious.
Tyler the Filmmaker,
It's like so much depth. It's like nowadays it's, you got A shot, B shot.
all the movie things,
There's some great, wide shots in this.
Janine DeBean,
Each other. They just kind of look like they were having fun and doing their own thing.
produced by Hyena, and me, the Real Study movie voice guy.
But this was the first time where I got to see it told in a way where I was like, oh man.
Let's go to the poster wall.
Welcome to the Real Study. My name is Mr. Snidbits, and with me this evening, we've got all the movie things. Janine DeBean and one of our many great special guests, Will Wilkins, is back with us again today to discuss Star Wars movies on Star Wars Day. So happy Star Wars Day. It is May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. We're going to cover both Star Wars Story, Rogue One, and Solo. Do remember here in July, we will also be going over Man of Steel in preparation for James Gunn's Superman. But before we do any of the reviews, we're going to move over to the main wall and say hi to Will Wilkins, who is wearing his Red Guardian cowl.
May your fourth raise to glory.
Love it. Love it. So you made that yourself, right, Will?
Yes, I did.
Awesome.
I'm sorry, I don't know. Yeah, of course. I just 3D printed it. I always do. There's always a certain point right before a big zeitgeist moment happens that I realize, oh, I could 3D print that. And it always seems to be that I do that with about 48 hours of time to get it all done.
Oh, jeez.
Right? I had the same epiphany Thursday night when I said, oh, but wait, if I'm going to be talking about these Star Wars movies, I could do a Mando helmet. And then I saw the print time and I said, I'm not going to go for that challenge.
No.
Right.
But I will say it for once I had the gumption to actually document the whole thing and talk about
nice.
right place, right time, right hashtag. The reveal of the done helmet was done on Friday, May 2nd. No, is that May 2nd?
Yep.
Yeah, 3rd, 4th. Yeah, and when the movie dropped, and naturally, it's the first video I've had to hit in a long time. So let's hear it from the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Well, we love the helmet, and of course, we are going to have everybody but me talking about Thunderbolts here in just a few minutes. Before that, no, it's okay. It's okay. Just avoid the heavy spoilers, obviously. So, before that, though, we of course are on all social media, so you can check us out on Twitch, here on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, the Skylight Social, as well as Fanbox, which is both a website and then a podcast network. So you can check us out on both of those as well. And then all podcast networks such as Apple, Google, etc. That said, Brian, how you doing this week?
Great. Yeah,
Awesome.
just got back from Mexico.
Nice. How was that?
Yeah, that was great. A lot of sun. I was super busy. So it was still great, still fun, but I was just, it went by, blank just because I was constantly shooting and just a lot of work, but it was good.
But you got to have a little time, a little downtime to enjoy the sun.
No.
No, okay.
No.
Work
No.
with beautiful weather.
But
though.
that doesn't mean
Yeah.
tequila wasn't consumed, right? Let's just be clear.
Right. Yeah,
there we
I had at least one margarita. So
Nice. What shirt are you wearing today? I always love.
this is
seeing what
my
shirt you're
Millennium
wearing.
Falcon shirt I've had
Of
for years that I
Wow.
got at Disneyland.
What
So,
is an aluminum Falcon?
Yeah.
Sorry. Janine, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Nothing too special to report, although I got an invite to Universal this coming weekend, so that'll be fun. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Are you gonna
And also you're looking a little bit scoundrelish.
Yes,
I'm
I
assuming
tried.
for the
I
day.
tried. Yes.
I was so embarrassed. Sorry to jump in on this, but I was so embarrassed to discover that in my own wardrobe, when it comes to Star Wars, I have Jack and Squat. The only thing I could have brought out
Funny.
were custom-made Disney t-shirts we had made. where I've got Grogu present on one, and I've got like R2D2 with a Disney ears and balloon on the other. I'm like,
Yes, I'm very limited in my Star Wars stuff. I think at my old
I-
job, they
yeah.
did these like centerpieces for an event we had, and one of them was like this gaudy Star Wars centerpiece with all of these things glued onto it, and I won it in some random raffle.
That's funny.
So that is why
We're like,
I
we
have
gotta
it.
get rid of this, so let's
Yeah,
just give it away.
Exactly. So I'm
That's a
like,
good-
we got to get rid of this thing. Let's make somebody feel like they won something.
exactly,
Right?
exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm using them here today for display.
Nice.
I love it, and I love that you change that up depending on the show. It's pretty great. I've got my always present, Star Wars shelves here with the original
Yes.
trilogies and the Darth Vader and all that good stuff. And then there's more you can't see up there. I've got like figurines and stuff, but I don't have any shirts. It's weird. I do have a beanie, but I didn't wear it. It's too hot to wear a beanie right now. Speaking of Star Wars, because we are going to be going into that, before we get into the news and the Thunderbolts, and then I also got to see Bad Times at the El Royale, which Janine has been saying for like a month and a half I should watch. So we'll get into that. But before we get into both of those, this is actually the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith this year on May 19th. And I used to, before I ever did a podcast years ago, I was huge into Star Wars, more than people realize now. My movie love kind of took over for Star Wars in a way. But I used to run a fan club in my local town, and we had students from the college there come over and start getting involved. And they were like, hey, can we make a documentary about your fan club? I was like, sure, if you really want to. And so they made a documentary about our club, but also our going to see Episode 3 in theaters, which we all stood in line for like 20 hours or something like that.
Back in the day, we used to do that.
Yes.
Right. When I was younger and could physically handle it, I would do that. But I got a little, like 2-minute clip of this documentary, which is like 40 minutes long. And I actually had Aina cue it up. So I thought we'd play it and see what you guys think of how nerdy I was back then. So let's see this Star Wars Emerald Alliance documentary, if you will. 20 years ago.
Just see if there were other Star Wars fans out here. So, as you can see, there are.
My pizza girl saw me playing Star Wars Galaxies because I had my computer set up in the living room.
And and the way I got into the Star Wars fan club is they were showing A New Hope in one of the lecture halls on campus, and I was like, awesome. And so I went, and then they were like, hey, so you're really into Star Wars? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, you want to be in the fan club? I was like, no.
And she said, oh, you like Star Wars? Well,
like,
my buddy Eric is starting this club, and he needs people to show up. You want to come see? And I went down and I saw, and it was pretty cool. And I made a jackass of myself.
And then I came to see Empire Strikes Back the next month. And then I was like, wait a sec, tell me about the Star Wars fan club.
We used to work at a pizza parlor together, and we used to ask each other trivia questions, and we thought it might be a good idea to get more people involved. So we decided to start recruiting more people and have monthly meetings, and here we are.
Did you go through puberty from that time until now?
Because he likes Star
Your
Wars,
voice
I like
is
Star
really
Wars.
different.
I know.
Yeah, Derek's kind of on the DL, so other people would be working around us, and we'd be like, "Hey, man, what does TIE stand for in TIE Fighter?" Would be like Twin Ion Engine.
Yes.
This was a quiz, right, that you had to get in order to get into the fan club. You had to pass this quiz.
Oh my God.
Friends were
How elitist.
That's like,
I know exactly.
serious business.
My friends were trying to get some free shoes, and they somehow the conversation went about to how they had a friend who knew everything about Star Wars. He was the biggest fan, and so Eric calls me up and he goes, he says, if you can give me a question that I can't answer, I'll give these guys free shoes or whatever. Yeah, so they didn't get their shoes, but I did get into the fan club, which is awesome. So I can't complain. My favorite character has got to be Grand Admiral Thrawn, Obi-Wan Kenobi,
Luke.
Wedge and Chewies.
Han Solo.
Darth Vader is by far my favorite character.
Kit Fisto.
Dark Side Executioner Cedrus.
Horn.
Han Solo.
So specific.
Definitely, because he is Studley.
Can I just say,
Awesome.
one,
Oh my
I
gosh.
absolutely adore that. And two, typical Will making it all about himself. If we ever come back on any Star Trek movies, or if it's a Star Trek day and I'm back, I will produce for you. I think it's also about a 2-minute clip. If it's longer, I'll edit it down. I was one of the people picked from the audience at Universal Studios to do the Star Trek experience that they had it back in the 90s. and it's just so ridiculous because you get as a nerd, I was just so excited that here I am getting to put on the costume and I'm going to be on the stage because I'm one of the OG pick me girls, I think, really. But I'll definitely share that since you shared that with us on this holiest of days.
It is a cringy video, mostly because I have much more beard and less hair.
Yeah, and
so
like
it's the
Brian said,
opposite.
your voice is completely different.
Bro,
Yeah,
my
it's a lot deeper
favorite
now.
part was when you just went Captain Obvious and you're like, well, we got a lot of Star Trek fans here, don't we?
Right. There's so many. And it's weird to see it now because it is quite dated. And we got so nerdy that we I don't know, we went too far. One of the things we did enjoy though on the fan club was my friend was really good at drawing, and so he would draw up these scenarios where it was who would win in a fight, and we'd put one character against another or scenarios, and we would all battle it out and discuss who would win. And I think my favorite one was who'd win, Indiana Jones or Han Solo, because why not have those two fight each other? But yeah, it was a blast. It lasted for a few years. But yeah, 20 years ago, I was a bigger Star Wars nerd than I am now. That said,
I gotta say though, man, like, I think India's more crafty when it comes to fighting. Now you got me lost in this. I gotta go, guys. I gotta figure this one out.
I understand.
Han's good with a pistol. Indiana Jones would wallop on anybody with his fists. I think I agree with that.
There we go.
I agree with that.
So it depends on whether you're able to in the fight. If Indy is able to do for a close range attack, whereas Han might be better with the distance attacks.
Ooh,
In
the two of them
Fortnite terms,
together.
he'd be a sniper, I think. But anyway, let's move on. I'm sorry.
Well, his gun is what was a sniper rifle at some point. We'll
Right?
get into that when we get into
Hey!
Solo.
Look, keeping it on
All
theme.
right,
Way to
so
go.
we've got some news. Not a ton of news. I didn't even ask Janine. Did you have any news? I didn't even ask that. Okay, there's not a ton going on, but I saw these two things and I wanted to bring them up. So let's go to the news.
Now it's time for the real news.
Two of my all-time favorite actors have gotten back together and are going to be making a third film together, and that's Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock. They are going to be making a romantic thriller at MGM, so over at Amazon, if you will. And it's going to be by the director Noah Oppenheim, who did Jackie. So there's an element of drama there. So
I like that they're going for another genre shift with their third reunion here.
Right.
So
I've always wanted to see them together again because I think their charisma has been outstanding in Speed.
Yes.
You watch it now, it still hits like I
even if you watch old interviews, they're so cute together. Yeah.
Almost like, why didn't you guys ever? Why
Right?
didn't you? Right? We all wanted it.
And they admit they both had crushes on each other at the time
Right.
too. So it's
I think
like,
it was
why
just
not?
the way life goes, right?
Yeah.
So that, small story, but one that I'm excited about personally.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to bring up, and this is wildly relevant to this evening, is Louis Pullman. He is cutting a way through Hollywood that others are not, and it's weird because he gets down on himself. He said, "It's a miracle that I even kept trying because I was not good," is what he says. And I'm sorry, Louis, I don't agree with you. As I've started to get to know him and watch more and more of him, I'm just like, this kid, he's
Look how much he
and of
looks like
course-
his dad too. in that
I
show.
know.
Exactly. And if you look at that
Identical.
other picture, right, he looks so different and like
Yeah.
good. Right?
Yeah. It's funny.
There is also just something so endearing about him, just so freaking
Yes.
adorable. Just
Yes.
like instantly, you're instantly endeared to the character.
And that's why I
Well-
kept recommending Bad Times at the El Royale. That was the
Right.
first time I saw him, and endlessly endearing in that film.
He really is. And that is a perfect segue, unless you guys wanted to say something else. I know you guys are going to talk about him when it comes to Thunderbolts, so I figure we'll wait for that in a moment. But let's move over to our Reel Roundup. And I got to see Bad Times at the El Royale, which is a Drew Goddard film. Had I known this was Drew Goddard, I
Right?
watched it in 2018 because I love Drew. Brilliant director, brilliant writer. We get a little bit of Buffy and Angel because of him. We definitely get Cabin in the Woods. We get Daredevil because of Drew Goddard. So if you have not seen this flick, holy crap, Janine was right. I should have watched this the moment she told me to. And the standout. The cast alone, I agree. The standout is Lewis Pullman, even though Jeff Bridges is right there with him. Like, that blew my mind. I'm like, he's on his own with Jeff. How is he doing this? Like, I cried at the end of this movie. I didn't expect that. I was just like, because it's such a like, I don't know. It's like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood meets Baby Driver, kind of mashed together in a way.
See that? Yeah.
It's, I don't know, that's the feel. I mean, it's not the story, but it's the feel.
Energy.
Right. And it's put together in a really a great way. I love the breakdown of room to room. And then John hamming it up. I thought he was fantastic in it. Really adding that element of that kind of Southern salesman. Aribo. Oh,
it was the first time I saw her in anything.
Same. Yeah.
So brilliant. And the singing the whole time, she just is spot on the whole time. Jeff Bridges bringing kind of that Hell or High Water meets Flynn from the Tron films together to make this pretty amazing character. I don't want to say too much. It's the kind of movie you don't want to like know too much about,
right?
Because you want it to unfold. But Lewis Pullman, like, holy crap! Why do I not remember her name?
Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth again,
getting to play into something different.
I know, which I love.
But also so different than even Furiosa. He just got another layer for me. I'm like, okay, he's deeper in this acting thing than it looks, right?
Well, that's what I felt after seeing him in Cabin in the Woods, though. Honestly speaking, like
just
at
a
that
typical
moment,
American college kid, right?
Right.
Yeah. No, it's pretty wild. But the one thing that definitely caught my attention was Melanie Griffith's kid. I always forget her name.
Dakota Johnson.
Dakota
This is a perfect role for her because she doesn't have to have emotion. So it's like literally exactly
and she
what
can
she
have
needs.
like this terrible attitude.
Right. So like put her in these kinds of roles and she'll shine.
Yeah.
Let her out of these roles and give her anything with like where she has to have empathy, and I think you're going to struggle with her. That said, do check out Bad Times at the El Royale if you have not already.
And it's gorgeous to look at too. Like it's shot really
Style
well.
of it.
Even down to like the fire in the film is really well done, and that's all I'm going to say. So check that out. It is a period piece and has an amazing soundtrack, and that's why the Baby Driver that I think fits. But you three all ran out and saw Thunderbolts and helped get that up to a good $75 million this weekend.
What gives you that impression?
Why don't we start with Will, since you are rocking the Red Guardians?
Good, because as soon as I'm done talking about this, it's coming off, man. My head is saying enough, let me breathe. I to keep it spoiler free, because somebody in the room could be spoiled. I just got to say that this movie, for me, the biggest compliment I can get, and the most spoiler free review I've given to anyone else, is the fact that this movie, I never had a dull moment. I never had a moment where my mind wandered. It kept me engaged so much, though it was one of those ones where I'm like, holy crap, we're in the third act already.
All right.
Yes, exactly.
You know, which can be a contrast statement, kind of like to us discussing Solo a little later. With this, I was fully engrossed within the story, even though it really is just a series of event after event after event, if you know what I mean. There's no real downtime for me in this movie. And I think everyone was just spot on for their parts. From everybody in the cast, and they gelled very well. I was super pleased. I'm not going to be one of those people that like the MCU is back, because honestly speaking, after I saw Captain America Brave New World, I said, you know what, there isn't a way that the MCU can screw up the Fantastic Four, especially since, you know, no studio's really gotten it right yet. All the way back to Roger Corman.
Right.
Damn.
So, you know, sorry, man.
Let's not lose the right.
Or, I'm going all the way back.
Yeah.
No, I just honestly speaking, it's one of those things where when I saw the presents in the theater at the fan event that I went to, because I had to get the ridiculous little keychain.
Yeah, me too.
I gotta say that it's seeing the people that were in my theater. I was just thinking, you know what? This may be the first Marvel movie that I'm sure it's still not hitting opening expectations, but the thing I'd be more interested to see is the box office report next week, because I guarantee you this one's getting word of mouth where everyone else may have been like, I saw Brave New World. I don't know, they may still be hurting from Eternals. We don't know, but Thunderbolt's a great movie, and I'll end it there because I think that's the easiest. I mean that, and I think if anyone comes out of this movie and they don't like Florence Pugh, what the hell is wrong with you?
Oh yeah. I don't get that.
I think that's already true, but I can see what you mean by that. Brian. Oh, go ahead, Will. Sorry.
Go ahead,
No,
Will.
I was just gonna say too that David Harbour just eats up every single scene that he is in.
I love him.
That's why I was kind of shocked, when you see how much he's been involved in the advertising and the promotion of the film, right down to Red Guardian's limo video.
I know,
and all
his
that
like
jazz.
video.
Oh yeah.
And when you see the end credits, this isn't a spoiler at all. He's a with character, so meaning he's not really, or he's got special negotiated rates different from everybody else. I don't know how the with works, but it is a slight variant in the titles. So, and I thought about it too, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess that makes sense for how much of the movie he was in the first part versus the second half. I don't think that's a tip of that either. But anyway, just everybody nailed it, and I want to marry Lewis Pullman. I know I've been married for 30 years, but I want to marry Lewis Pullman. Just
You at least want to adopt him. It sounds like.
Well, I guess that would be more appropriate. Anyway,
well, you said marry. We're going to hold you to marry.
All the movie things, and now I can take this off.
All the movie things. What did you think of Thunderbolts asterisk?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot. I agree with what Will said too. Like, it was just fun from beginning to end. Like, there's like a great amount of humor. Like, I laughed a bunch in this. And like the chemistry between all of them is really great. I mean, but I also think like Florence and I'm forgetting Winter Soldier actor that plays
Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, I feel like those two can have chemistry with a ball of lint, and would be, what I mean, they like, I mean, it's pretty amazing just how well like everyone gels together, and they all kind of get their own like really well their own kind of time. Like they all get a good amount of screen time, I think. With and yeah, Lewis Pullman. Also, the thing that really surprised me was like how much like heart there is in this, and just how touching it is. Like,
it really gets deep in terms of trauma aspects.
Interesting.
It was really I mean, it got to me, I was like, oh, okay, we're dealing with some like mental health stuff here.
Which was another part that was just so amazing. And I'm sorry about what's going on. There's a dilemma with YouTube being on the TV in the family room. So that's why there's chaos coming from my square. So
oh God, that's funny.
No, I didn't hear anything. So I think we're okay.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Well, it feels like it can stand alone too. Like you don't really have to. It helps. There's some inside things, of course.
References,
universe, but but you don't really need a lot of that going into. You can kind of go into this, I think, and really enjoy it.
And I think the best Marvel movies are kind of the standalone feeling ones that kind of do their own thing and then briefly kind of reference the future of where we're maybe going.
That's what made Guardians so popular, is that it was
it was very kind of its own thing. And this has the essence of that, I was feeling.
That's awesome. Tell us more about what you thought.
I really loved it. In terms of the trauma stuff, it found like creative ways to illustrate kind of the character trauma that reminded me of other Marvel properties. I don't think I should say which, because that might, maybe feel spoilery to you. But generally, I love their chemistry. It was giving me the structure of both Suicide Squad movies, but where the first one, kind of coming together, did not feel earned at all. that was the complete opposite with this movie, because we got to the kind of finale aspect pretty quickly, as Will said, but it felt 100% earned once we kind of got to the finale piece of what our characters are doing. I will say my one disappointment is I think I didn't personally feel like I got enough from Ghost and Bucky even. I feel like they probably felt like we had all of these films with Bucky, so everyone kind of knows his story, but I kind of wanted more of like what Bucky is doing now, why he, wants to be a congressman, and all of, what his life looks like now post Falcon Winter Soldier. And Ghost, I don't know that we got kind of deeper with her, because even in her movie, like, we didn't get a ton of like who she
Next to
is.
nothing.
Yes, but even with that, she still fit in with everyone well. I still loved her moments, and I still cared about her. So it didn't, take away from me kind of caring about her in the context of the whole team.
Yeah.
The everyone worked really well together. I loved Florence Pugh. She's kind of our major kind of focus here in this film. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I loved her as kind of this warped Nick Fury. Kind of
It almost had some like Vice President Myers elements to me in there too, like some Veep stuff.
Yes,
It kind of felt
she
deepish.
was definitely playing to that stuff.
Yeah.
But I loved kind of seeing familiar Avenger settings from a whole different context, connecting it to the world we know, but going forward with something new. So yeah, I really loved it.
Yeah.
So does it sound like, or does it seem like this is going to be like a good stop between this and going into Fantastic Four, which basically is almost like a soft relaunch of the MCU by doing something completely different with a different group of characters in a whole nother realm? Does this feel like it's going to bounce us into the whole next phases of the MCU, or is it a standalone?
Yeah,
I should not.
Yes.
I'm going too far. Okay.
Yes.
I will
I
retract
best
my
way to put
question.
it, you both it. Sorry.
Yeah.
That is a line I love from one of the dumbest episodes of The Good Place, but because they're all going to try and save Jason Mendoza's dad, essentially, like, for lack of a better term. But he and his friend Pillboy have come up with an amazing idea for a soda, an energy drink / cologne. It's like, well, do you drink it or wear it? And Pillboy goes, you both it. So every opportunity I have to use that in my life, I now do. Sorry, you guys had to sit through all that. But yeah, it is both a good bookmark, I think, for the MCU, as well as a launching point for
everything
the next things. Because let's face it, no matter what anybody says, so this was like Avengers Light, the same way Civil War was, in a way, right?
Okay.
With a collection of heroes doing something. And then you're going into Fantastic Four, which, because of everything we know, now we're just on the Secret Wars travel. This is where we're at. We're going to be in, we're going to Secret Warsing it now from this point forward. That's where we're going.
That's what I'm excited about.
And our end credits was directed by different directors than the film's directors. So
that's different.
Don't tell Dad.
I will say that was the one. I don't know if this is fuck, damn. I don't know if this is a spoiler.
He gave us a fuck and a damn. Okay.
Well, because I bet you
I gave you a fuck. I didn't go all the way.
All the movie things. I'm gonna just say one word for you, right?
Yeah.
Credits. Is that where you're going with this?
Well,
or no?
Well, yeah, actually, that is funny
Okay.
because I did see, like, in the musical credits, I noticed something, and I was like, "Wait a minute, I didn't hear that." Oh,
Literally, bro, literally, and I'm saying it's not. I don't consider that a spoiler because, dude, you're gonna stumble on it too. You don't host a movie or a podcast called The Reel Study without thinking this isn't a guy that's just sitting through the credits. He's reading them.
Oh, I read the credits.
Snidbits. I'm just saying,
I would have read the song credits as well, so that's perfect.
Although I will say, there. No, never mind. I can't really say anything.
I know. That's what I was like.
There was a guy in the audience who, in my screening, it was a fun crowd. That's the important thing, right? That's the reason why we see these things usually when we do, because we're looking for that communal experience.
Energy.
I had a very respectful.
Tell people this is my church. It's the new Marvel movies. Like right before I went to go see Endgame, I sent a message to a buddy of mine with me dressed as Captain America saying, "Time to go to church." Yeah, it makes me look like a crazy person. I don't care. I gotta say that I'm just I walked away from this super pumped.
Yes. And I loved that these are all characters from properties that weren't incredibly well received, but you're putting faith in them because not just for their characters, but because you're working with these great actors. So, you know, that's
and as a movie person, you will appreciate, I think, Snidbits. I just love saying it that way. Why would I use his real name when I can use that? I think that it, like, visually speaking, some of the visuals we get in the opening are both what's the use of the word that we use when we're foreshadowing things? It's not only good foreshadowing, but it's also like good symmetry for the beginning and the end in many ways.
So bookending almost?
In a way,
Is that
yeah.
what you mean? Okay.
And it's just done through the visuals. We can talk more about it later.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and as soon as I see it, we will talk about it even more. So
man, just hit me up on the Discord if nothing else.
Right.
I had like a different thing. I had a different issue with the like post credits thing, but I probably shouldn't say anything right now. Yeah, because it's like
that's fair.
You could message Will privately and let him.
Yes. I want to know, Brian. So.
I know.
I mean, I should already know with our mind meld.
Set up a sidebar with the three of us, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Well, you can do that on Discord. You can get a bunch of people.
Yeah, and then we can bring Eric into the fold later. You know what I'm saying?
Right. All right, so awesome. You guys got me even more excited about Thunderbolts, but
let's get to the meat and potatoes.
Right, we're here to talk about Star Wars. So May the 4th is, of course, International Star Wars Day.
May the 4th be with you.
Right, exactly. It's also my birthday, which throws people off. I was born on Star Wars Day before it was Star Wars Day, but I was also born the same year as Star Wars. That tells you how old I am now if you want to pay attention.
I'm still older.
I was 3 weeks old when my parents dragged me in that theater. I'm still not sure why they did that. Maybe don't take a baby to the theater, parents, but hey, that's irrelevant. So I did see all of them in theaters as a kid.
Encoded for this.
Right.
In a sense, yeah. And that's why when I started the fan club, I was like, weird. I was, born the right year. It feels appropriate. So these are the two kind of side story films that are Star Wars adjacent, but still completely related to the
Star Wars story, if you will.
Story, if you will.
Can I test my patience with Janine and interject one other thing? Because unfortunately, I am also a podcast host, which means that host energy is always going to be present, no matter what you like or not. But I'm super compelled to know. For you as a person whose birthday was May 4th, how does it feel having a birthday that's now so co-opted by an entirely different group other than
it's actually
friends of Eric and it's his birthday?
It's difficult because of the fact that when I get on mine, most people are like, "Happy Star Wars Day," and I'm like, "And my birthday." Like, it almost feels like before it would be like I'd get everybody saying, it's one of those things because when it first started, it wasn't very popular. Like it was, like other lesser known pop culture things where like a few people talked about it. And then every year, more and more people. And now it's just literally everybody says it when it happens. So it's weird, but ideal. I don't know. At this age, I don't even care because it's my birthday.
You don't want to think about being older.
I get to pick the movies today. Like that's kind of the most.
I mean, there you go. It's you got to take all the little wins, man.
Yeah. No, although that's not true. Janine got me a gift. I was very excited. She got me a Monster Squad poster, so that'll be right there.
Wolfman's got knives.
And I believe in Night of the Creeps as well.
Nice. I didn't see that, so that's awesome.
Okay.
It's behind the other one, dummy.
Yeah. I did. Well, it showed me a preview. It didn't show me everything. And then
should be there
Hannah,
tomorrow.
our producer, got me Nightbreed, and then The Burbs, which are only available physically.
Oh my gosh, both. Oh my! Like, talk about movies. The Burbs and Nightbreed are like two films that just were not.
I have the
popular
T-shirt. I have a Burb
theatrically.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, this movie flopped hard.
You're right,
which
but
is
but like with my friends and I, it was one of those ones we were quoting. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then
Yeah.
Nightbreed, like I was insufferable walking around going, "He's meat for the beast," you know, just
Which is
continuously.
the greatest
Like,
character.
settle down, bro. So wow,
That's a
those
great
are
movie.
amazing gifts.
And it's also
and
really
plus
such a gritty film, Nightbreed. Like it makes you feel kind
Yeah.
of icky. Like it's so visceral.
there is
Never
nothing that's
seen
supposed
it.
to make you feel comfortable at that movie.
No, people cutting their faces off to get into, Midian is not the greatest idea. Like that's not a great way to go. That guy creeped me out more than any of the monsters. Let's just say, like, the monsters were all cool, and that guy's not that great. Am I the only one that thought the main character was David Boreanaz for the longest time? Because I swear that actor and
They
David
look
Boreanaz
very
are-
similar.
I mean, yeah, it's like, yeah, I do have to like do a double take. I'm like, no, that's not.
right. And the only other movie I ever saw him in was The Program with
Right.
with
Yeah.
James Caan.
Mhm.
So anyway, thank you for the gifts. I really appreciate that. But let's get into talking about these movies. Now, normally I take movies in release order, like we do them from what was released first. But in this case, it seems odd to do that.
I
So,
did the inverse as well.
I want to talk
I
about
think-
Solo first.
Yes.
For that
Time
reason.
order.
So
Solo first.
Solo-
That sounds like somebody just said your seat was available in a Chili's.
Right.
Solo first.
Kind of sounds like how he got his name then.
Right.
Ah, good point.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna get into that for sure.
But if that tells you
Um,
anything, that's what I was talking about last week.
Okay, so that's your biggest
that was
gripe
the
about
thing
it. My gripes are towards the end, which we'll get to. So let's see. Let's start with Janine. You have that as a gripe, but let me hear otherwise what you think of Solo now after it's been out for 8 years, 7 years.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed it a little bit more on this watch. I had only seen it the one time because like learning how he got his name just annoyed me, and I was like, I don't know. I don't really feel like I cared about the characters as much as I wanted to. But I did really appreciate that it was kind of nonstop action. Like I don't think we really settle and stop
Yeah.
at any point. It just keeps going and going and going. So I liked that aspect of it. I liked filling in kind of points of Han's story. Obviously, he's such an iconic character, so getting to know him was cool. But I don't know. It didn't fully feel like a younger version of him, and I just didn't really feel like I got invested, and I don't know what it was that didn't pull me in. Because with the next film, like I felt, that I cared about all those characters. So,
I'll help you out on that one later.
But yeah, I don't know what it was that just didn't kind of pull me in to really caring what was happening. And it did feel kind of predictable as well. So, it didn't grab me really, and I can't pinpoint like what didn't do it for me, but yeah.
So that's true on the second viewing for you. Then even it's still was
Yes,
better, but not.
but I
not much better.
appreciated it more in terms of kind of the action, and like I was entertained by how fast paced it was going, and I appreciated kind of learning more. And I love Donald Glover, like he was definitely
He's really
a
great.
standout
Yeah.
for me.
Mhm.
And L3 as well was really fun. But everything else just I don't know.
So you wanted that movie. You wanted Lando
Yeah.
and L3 and their relationship. Is this one of
Yes.
those things where there was a smidge of love, so you glommed onto it?
Yes. There's tiny bit,
Droid
even
human
like
love.
that. Yeah, because I mean that was more compelling than Kira and Han for me. So, and I'm the person who latches onto any kind of romantic subplot,
Oh,
no
yeah.
matter how tiny it is, because I'm just that girly girl about that kind of thing.
Oh.
So that was not really pulling me in. I was more about like pansexual Lando and this droid.
Yeah.
Right?
Because they did it.
Yes.
Somehow,
Oh, yeah.
some way.
Well, she
Ask
says
him-
it. She even says,
Yeah,
she
so you
says,
can do that thing
"It can
later,
happen."
and he kind of
Yeah.
gets like he doesn't want to answer like in front of people when she says,
Right?
"Can you do that thing later?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Brian? Solo?
I almost wonder if Phoebe Waller. I think Phoebe Waller-Bridge like worked on the script around her droid
Yeah.
a little bit. I think, but that's why she's kind of like But I also love that we get like two sassy droids in
Yes.
these movies.
One
Like,
in each movie.
I love
right?
the droids. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're so good.
Yeah.
I really like this movie. I think it's fun. I had a blast even the first time I saw it. I was like, what is everyone talking about? because it wasn't getting well. It wasn't well received,
Yeah.
even though like the Rotten Tomato score is like decent. But yeah, I really like it. I was glad that our lead wasn't trying to do like a Harrison Ford impression,
Yeah, I appreciated
you
that too.
know,
Mhm.
because like the experiences, we don't know all the experiences after this leading up to when we finally see him in in A New Hope. Maybe some things happen to make him more
It's
grizzled
just
or
look how
whatnot.
much our Mr. Snidbits has changed from back
Exactly,
then
I know.
to
20
He went
now.
through a whole second puberty, but um, and yeah, I don't know. I really love all the characters. I love the action. Like the cinematography is great. You got Bradford Young who shot this, which is like he's like amazing. I mean, he shot Arrival, so
Yeah.
and he's like one of the few black men shooting, as a DP out there right now.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it's still like was still very entertaining to me. It's like I love when Star Wars does this thing of like it's like this genre and they plug it into Star Wars. Like this is like a heist. It's a heist movie.
Yeah.
Like there's all these cool, fun heists they gotta do and try to figure out. And it's like they gotta, but in order to do this one heist, they gotta go like get the Millennium Falcon somehow,
Yeah.
and try to convince
Yeah.
Lando to do all that and everything. And I loved all those little things that like why the Millennium Falcon has that notch in the middle. Oh well, there used to be, that's where the pod was, and then
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Well, because they even in A New Hope they say the pods have been jettisoned when they talk about the
Yeah.
Millennium Falcon, so like they had to
Yeah.
account for that.
Even
yeah,
kind of
and
maybe explaining why they refer to the ship as a her because L3 is
right, yeah, exactly. No, I love that. And like,
It
so
also shows
sad,
why it's
too.
kind of
Like,
finicky between
yeah,
him wrecking the ship badly
Yeah.
and then
right.
being integrated with this
Mhm.
other robot
Uh-huh.
sentience kind
And
of makes it
she
kind of
even has to
funky.
like hit her own head,
Right.
and they're always having to hit the ship whenever
Right.
like
Yes.
so
But it also
Mhm.
shows why
Yeah.
Lando was like, "You mean my ship?" Because like quite
right.
literally, that's my
I mean,
baby.
yeah, that's his
Yeah.
girl. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I really I think it's a really fun film, and I love the like, the double crosses that we get in this and everything. And yeah, and some of it may be predictable, but I don't know. I still had fun with it. Yeah. It's
Is
great.
Ron Howard really known for making unpredictable movies? Well, maybe Beautiful Mind. That might be one of the ones that's kind of unpredictable.
Maybe. I don't know. Have you seen The Paper? I tell everyone to go
Yeah.
see The Paper. Like, I
Right?
love that movie. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's
No,
so
I think
underrated. Like,
he's
yeah.
he's one of the greater directors for a reason. I think
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
made a name for himself for a reason. Will, what did you think of Solo?
I first of all, I still remember seeing it in the theater, and I remember thinking, "Oh, damn, that's a bummer. There's not a lot of people here." So much so that speaking of dumb little tchotchkes, I've got the dice or whatever they're
dice.
called
Yes,
Right.
I have the dice earrings.
because
Nice.
these were left over because they didn't give them away at the fan event.
Oh,
Oh.
So
I
like
would have those.
I'll always think of Solo kind of as my first disappointing Star Wars theatrical experience. So I just want to say,
Eh.
I want to predicate it with that, just that it's, because the audience wasn't there, it was kind of like I was let down in a way too. But when it came to the film, I thoroughly enjoyed the story that he told. I really enjoyed seeing the early interactions between Han and Chewie. Getting that origin story, seeing him becoming a deserter from the military, seeing, yeah, and even the heist itself. Now, when I said compare and contrast with the Thunderbolts, this too was a movie that was a series of events, like meaning the only
Right.
downtime we really get is the card game, realistically
Yeah.
speaking.
Yeah.
Other than that, you're just action sequence to action sequence to action sequence. And in this case, I felt it was a bit much. I would have appreciated a little more breathing room in
Yeah.
parts of the story. Yeah, we got some on board the Millennium Falcon, but like basically after they're caught kissing in the closet, that's it, guys. It is just shit's happening
Nonstop.
from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
and it really is a lot to absorb because there's the conversation about having sex with a robot, and then there's the seeing the way he reacts when the robot gets downed and is falling apart, and then and then like we're gonna put the robot, and we're gonna put the robot in the ship. That in itself is a lot to absorb, but also it's great fan service because you're like, so that's the reason why the Millennium Falcon's nav system is so unique, right? So there's a lot of fan service. I just think that, first of all, this movie suffered from being transitioning from Lord and Miller to Ron Howard. Not that I'm saying Ron Howard did anything wrong, but like with the most recent season of Daredevil, when you have different narrative voices involved in a project and one comes in after the other, so I think that's part of the disjointedness for me in this movie. And the only other thing too is that we are dealing with very iconic characters, and for me, Donald Glover's performance was good, but I thought it was also a bit performative, if you will. It was like,
see that.
It was almost him trying to do the character, but also it becoming a caricature of the character in a way.
Right.
Interesting.
And it kind of not the same thing. I thought, what is his name? It's the weird name, the lead.
Alden.
Yeah. There we go. Who, by the way, my buddy JC owns the Scum and Villainy Cantina bar. And it's the funniest thing. The doorman reported that he and friends had dropped by. I don't know if he had not made a connection with the name, but basically as they were scanning his ID, he got one look inside the bar and said, "Oh no," and just left. Because he's like, I'm not stepping into a Star Wars property at all. There's no way I'm being. Anyway, I thought he did an incredible job, but again, the problem is that that Han is still such a well-known character that we saw portrayed a very specific way, even in like the reboot. So it was kind of its placement and coming out and things as well, or the sequels.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of didn't let me down in terms of the characterization, because I already had this strong idea of him in my head. So it was hard for me to care about this version.
But still, again, I can't make a Star War, so I appreciate most of the time what I got. Even though I remember coming out of episode 1 and I remember the awkward silence that was in the car, because I worked for a company that gave us the day off if we came back the next day with a ticket stub. So if we went to go see the movie, interestingly enough, the company was also kind of in a PR war with Lucasfilm because they were the owners of Electric Image software, and at the time they were just pushing the narrative of the other software package they were using for 3D rendering. But that did come up in the recent new release on Disney Plus of Light and Magic. The Electric Image got a mention, and I was like, aha! Anyway, I digress. Going off on a tangent. I just
watch
really
Light and Magic, by the way. It's
God,
it's great.
You just eat that up like it's like a bowl of ice cream after a long hot day. But with the characters, I loved every character that wasn't a pre-existing character in this movie, if you know what I mean.
Beckett and
Beckett, great.
Every one of them was just enjoyable, and overall it was a good story. I just think when it came out and how if this were a project that may be happening 10 more years from now as an extended idea, there would be enough separation from the characters. But it also it's interesting to see the way they tried to make some Star Wars connectivity there, because these silly dice become like a major focal point. It's the thing they're exchanging for luck, and then it's one of the things that Luke interacts with in Last Jedi when Chewie and Rey are there with the Falcon, and so it's like, you can see they were really trying to make sure we were paying attention there.
So who cares if you didn't see him in the original trilogy, right?
There was no
sequel
meaning
trilogy
behind it.
so,
it was literally just set deck, and so to give them kind of a purpose and a story, I think was really cool.
But I watched it, I think it was Friday night or Saturday morning, one or the other, and just I gotta say though, I still thoroughly enjoyed the story. I was still entertained from beginning to end.
Mhm.
I definitely feel the same way. I enjoyed this one more than I enjoyed Rogue One in theaters, which was weird because, like Brian was saying, this one got shit on a lot. And like Will said, it was an empty theater when he went. Our theater wasn't empty, but it wasn't obviously packed to the brim. I think that not doing the Han Solo impression was a good idea. And I think for me, Donald Glover doing the impression of Lando works because I love Donald Glover so much that I'm like, I don't care what you do. Just do it and I'll enjoy what you're
And
doing.
Lando was kind of a, an over-the-top charisma kind of character anyway.
Even in the original trilogy, he's that character.
I mean, it's Billy D.
He's
Williams,
wearing the cape, right?
Right?
So he's
Yeah.
running the
So
city,
it
like
worked
he's
for
got all
me.
this going
And
on.
I get what Will's saying, but I totally agree with
But I'm okay with him hamming it up. It worked for
That's
me.
fine.
But
I love the joke about the capes, man.
That's my cape. But I think that Alden did a great job of the physicality of Han Solo, the way he held the blaster.
Yeah, the way
and
he
would like
shoots,
point
like-
it up
yeah.
And act like Han Solo in that way. I think he nailed all of that down. Trying to speak Wookiee speak to Chewie was great. But the fan service is a lot because they basically are like, here's 2 hours and we're going to give you every major plot point about Han Solo in 2 hours, which usually would bother me because it's a prequel. But at the same time, I knew we were only going to get one. So I was okay with it because technically before Disney took over and there were books that were technically sort of canon, there are 6 books about Han Solo on his own that are his story.
Right.
The original set from the mid 80s and then a set that was done in the 90s. And both of them go into all of this stuff about him joining the military, why he has the imperial pants he's wearing. And so seeing that they just kind of took all these parts from these books and crammed it all together, I think works because they didn't cram too much. I think if they had crammed one more thing in, I would have been like, okay, you guys, you're overfilling the pot here. I know people that hated the way he got his gun, and I was like, but why? I mean, just hand it.
Like why does it have to be like this?
I hated
big,
how he got
huge
his
moment?
name. But him getting his gun, that didn't bother me. Like,
The name does. I see that too. That bothered me too. I was like, what? That's how he got his. I thought maybe he came from a long line of solos, and he even talks about his dad for a minute, right?
Yeah, just some guy. Ooh, Solo. Like,
right. I don't know.
I didn't like that.
I think the vehicles are astounding. I think that the weapons that we get to see are amazing. The ore, not the ore, but the fuel that they get and the way that it almost acts like Jango Fett's
it was like a
sonic
explosion,
bombs. Was really cool. L3 is a standout. There's even a moment that keeps standing out to me where Lando's like, what can I get for you? And she's like, equal rights.
Yeah.
And he kind of blows her off. And I was just like, well, this is different. And I constantly think about the droids in Star Wars because they are treated like shit. They are second-class citizens.
Yeah.
They're sentient and they're able to think and feel,
Yeah.
but they're treated like garbage.
Yeah, her trying to get through to that like fight bot and tell.
Yeah, I know. That was so funny.
There's some really great tender moments in the
Her
film that I think come through.
inadvertently starting a coup
A
or
rebellion,
like a revolution.
I love that. And again, the character that they ran into that Kira has to talk to when they get to the planet. You never get to hear what he says. We don't even know what he says, which I love, because he's speaking something that's not basic, which is what they call English in Star Wars. Sorry, this is my nerdy side going to come out with all of this. I didn't love the Millennium Falcon the first time when I saw it, and I was like, why did they change the shape? And it's also, this goes back to the books because I've read a ton of the behind the scenes books and things like that. And those little circles on the top of the Millennium Falcon used to be the escape pods. So they changed it for this film, which I was like, oh, why did you do that? But again, that's not considered canon, anything not either in the movies or the new books.
Well,
It's
I know
considered legacy and aside.
So wait, what technical book was it that I read in originally, and where does it fall in the revision history? That basically that was supposed to be like a luxury escape pod that could also serve as a second ship,
almost like the captain's yacht, if you will.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever seeing in any of the books I read, but that's just me.
Maybe I just made
didn't
it
own
up
them
in my
all,
brain
you
then.
know. But
I
it
think
could
the
be
real
out there.
question that I have for you, Snidbits, is can you read Arabish?
No.
Okay.
But I did love. So I'm glad you said that because Sabak being in the movie is huge for Star Wars fans because we had never seen it depicted in film or on screen, and They argue about the way it's pronounced, which I love because it was only written in books, so we only had our version of pronouncing it.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like a nod to the fans who pronounced it both ways.
Well, even with the Han thing as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say there was a Han thing too that was the same.
Right. And Star Wars is notorious for this because there are so many characters that they like. You read them and you're like, "Oh, Saboth," and it's like, "No, that's Kaboth," and I'm like, "What? What are you doing to me?"
I've been saying it this way forever.
Right, or Ysalamari or Isalamari. These are different creatures. Force.
Those are the ones that repel the Force, correct?
Yep, 100%.
See.
And if you wear one on your shoulder, you can keep the Force.
Sorry, I try for that toxic masculinity thing, and I just never get it right.
It's good.
It's so out of character.
It's satire almost, like you're making.
In a way, kind of.
Like
let's go with that.
So from a fanboy's perspective, if you will, I was one of the few fanboys that loved this and the sequel trilogy because everybody my age was like, "Oh, this is bull crap. You guys are ruining Star Wars for everyone because you're putting women and people of color in it." I'm like, "What are you fucking talking about? Like, Star Wars is about the other. Like, how did you not pay attention to that in the beginning?" The two gripes I have, this one leads into the rebellion, which I like. I didn't have a problem with that. I think it's great that we see the really early parts of the rebellion. But the reveal for the leader of the rebellion, the way the music builds up, it goes da da da, and then I take a helmet off and I'm like, "Who is this? Like, I don't know who this is. Like, why is this important to me?" Until they explain who they are, and I'm like, "But you didn't need to like do the reveal music for a character we don't know who it is," which I thought was odd. And then Darth Maul being in the movie, I just hate that at all. Like, Darth Maul got cut in half in my mind, and that's where he lies, somewhere on Naboo forever.
Well, but
I know
you can't fight the Filoni, baby.
I know.
That's right.
There's a whole like series where they bring him back and spider legs and all that crap, and in my mind, none of that exists. I can, I get to make up my own headcanon.
I mean, isn't Clone Wars considered canon and all that?
Don't just let him have it, man. Okay.
No, and I know, but that's the thing. So if this is the thing that I think drives me nuts about it. I love that. This is the thing that
canon be damned.
If there were no TV shows and they found a way to explain this for the character coming back in this movie, that'd be different. But I shouldn't be required to go watch 7 seasons of a show.
No, I mean, when I first saw this, I was like, I was very confused because I had no idea. Also, because I never saw Clone Wars, I was like, wait a minute, is this Darth Maul is just a different, person from his
people?
Race? Like,
a Zabrak, if you will.
Yeah. I was like, okay. So that totally threw me. That was the only thing that threw me off the initial time. But then,
what bothers me is that there's a character from the books they could have used. Prince Shizor was a character from the Shadows of the Empire book that is part of these crime syndicates and one of the like major crime bosses. I know, but they didn't use him, and which sucks because he was a hell of a character. Like he was badass. But they chose not to, which is fine. It's fine. If you like Legacy Star Wars, read Shadows of the Empire. It's a great book.
Yeah, I played the game a lot.
Right?
The game was fun.
That game is the book, like quite literally.
So good.
That is the format.
Yeah, they did a really good job. I was surprised that they never made a movie of that.
Dash
or a
Rendar,
TV show.
That would have been like Han Solo Light. That's probably why they avoided it.
Right. But still,
Dash
Rendar.
I
know. Yeah, Dash Rendar, I know. Yeah, he was very Han Solo.
Because even the Outrider, his ship is basically like a smaller Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And
he has
sideways instead. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a nerd. I can stop.
Yeah.
I'll stop.
But that whole story is really fun though. Like, I don't know.
It is. Leia really gets to come into her own in that story. She shows what a badass she is. We also understand why she wears this Bosch outfit in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Here I go again. I got to stop. I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on Solo that you guys would like to bring up before we rate Solo? Oh, dead air. Okay, I think that's a very hard no.
I mean, I think we've laid it all out, man. I
agree with you. I agree.
Other than the fact that, again, I couldn't make a Star Wars and I did enjoy it. Like I thoroughly enjoyed whether it was my Friday night or my Saturday morning with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Hannah has been in the
she's guessing our scores.
Getting our guesses. She said all the movie things is going to rate it 8.5. Janine's going to rate it a 6. Will Wilkins is going to rate it
I
a
wish I
7.
didn't
She
do
said,
that
I'm
because
gonna
I
rate
kind
it
of
a
skews
9.
my
Your thought,
lore
yeah.
now. I'm like,
She's
wait,
like, did she get that
I didn't
right?
get there yet. Like, yeah.
But like, yeah. But is it my thought now, or is it
exactly? That's the yeah.
She's
Using
out
the
here
Force.
guiding us, right?
No.
Get out of my, wait, did she just pull the Jedi mind trick on me?
I think
Dang
she
it.
did. She did. So
That's
Janine, what do you rate Solo?
Yeah, I mean, I had more fun with it this time around, but I still just wanted to care more than I did, and I don't know why I didn't. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10.
Defying what was presented. I love it. All right. How about you, Brian? What do you rate it?
Yeah, it's really fun. I don't know. It's one that I'll keep revisiting. So I'm gonna give it an 8 and also
Defy.
I'm gonna undershoot.
Can't control me.
How about you, Will Wilkins?
Well, apparently I'm the simple-minded one because I do give it the 7 out of 10. This is probably the second time I have seen it since the theater. So I saw it in the theater. I'm sure I saw it when it first came out on
like
digital, and now I watched it here. I will more than likely revisit episodes of The Mandalorian before I would decide, oh, you know what? I really want to go watch Solo right
But
now.
I would probably give this another chance, because
I mean, yeah, it's definitely watchable, but it's not like I can't even. When we get into the next one, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen Rogue One.
Really?
Oh man, I have watched the shit out of that movie.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have more analysis, which I love. Myself, I'm gonna also defy Hannah's odds. I gave this an 8 initially, and I think it has the same rating still. I don't think it went up. I think I enjoyed it the same amount, so I'm also gonna give this an 8 with Brian. Solid flick. Don't watch it by your Solo. Terrible.
Did you notice the cup that Will is drinking out of too? By the way,
I didn't. What cup are we?
It's an exaggerated, insulated red Solo cup. Come on. I didn't have no shirt. I had to do something.
I see you. I see
and
you, Will.
I've been very blatantly taking it's been empty for like 20 minutes. No, I'm kidding.
that should have been how we got his name.
Yeah.
And by the way,
that's good placement for products. Right?
20th century Earth stuff.
Yeah.
They could have sold metal variants now with the way everyone loves their bottles.
Yeah.
Never mind. I'm gonna bring something up at the end of the show.
All right, sweet. Okay, so we are going to move on to Rogue One, which was the second film released by Disney for Star Wars. This was released after the initial Force Awakens film, and our first look into what happens before the Rebel blockade runner shows up on screen in A New Hope, and everything leading to that battle. I think we should start with Brian this time.
Yeah, I love this movie.
You're like, yeah, you should.
Yeah, thanks. because I'm gonna really talk this movie up so everyone else can do their thing.
Love it.
But this isn't like hyperbolic. This is like one of my favorite
Star Wars things.
Star Wars, properties out of all of Star Wars. Yeah, I like from the day I saw it to I was like absolutely in love with it. I mean, Greg Fraser shot this thing. I mean, need I say more? That's really it. That's all you need
there
to know.
it is.
Greg Fraser.
Review over.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I love this idea of like showing, even though we kind of you kind of know what's going to happen because it's not going to end well for a lot of these people.
Yeah.
So, but still like somehow you're able to still
get
invested and still like have this glimmer of hope, like maybe they can squeak out of this, you know what I mean? Like maybe there's still gonna be this thing. And the connection with her dad being the one that like put this in there just as a
it's her little nickname and
exactly, like all those fun little things. And this is very much like again, like Solo to me was like a lot of like heist film elements. This is like an espionage spy
mission
kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like and the fact that like Andor is out too. Really, like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's really great to watch that.
That's
And
been
then
my
leading up
favorite
to
of the
this,
shows. Yeah.
yeah, like, yeah, Andor is like
So
incredible.
impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's like political thriller
Yeah.
Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, it's so
Yeah.
good.
Really?
Yeah, and
Yes.
like, and yeah, and like, I mean, I can't. Yeah, I mean, everyone's talked a lot about that hallway corridor
Yeah.
Darth Vader thing. It's just
So
it's so
cool.
good.
It's
It's so
endlessly
damn good. Like,
cool.
I mean, I remember in
Yes.
the theater, people were like losing their minds
Yeah.
in the
Because
theater,
I
like
don't know
when
if
that
people
happened. Like,
expected to see him in this
no,
movie. Yeah.
like, and then just
It's a
like
Dude,
being
our
brutal as
first
hell.
sense of horror in the Star
Yeah.
Wars universe.
Oh my
yes, that was
god.
the horror movie
Yeah.
element.
Like,
Yeah.
Someone slipped a little mini horror movie in the back
yeah.
end of this
It was
Yes.
movie.
just like, oh my god, like, yeah. Because you think it's like over, and then we're gonna have some like kind of like down, post, climax thing, and then it's like, nope,
No,
we're gonna
gonna
like
see
connect
what
it
happened
exactly
before.
to
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
to the moment, right?
the-
Well, I
yeah,
guess
the
they
moment-
technically shot across the galaxy and
right, yeah, the kids
Well,
like going to hyperspace, but
that's
still, yeah.
And it
But-
completely recontextualizes everything that we know at the beginning of what we now call A New Hope, because
Right.
it's like Vader wasn't dicking around. He knew he had the right ship because he just done saw it leave.
Right.
That's why
Right?
when they
exactly.
lie to him, he
Left him
breaks
in
the
the
dude's
dust.
neck. He's like, "Don't lie to me, fool!" Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
look, I'm sorry, David's got to finish.
No. It's amazing. I love it. It's yeah.
We're gonna tear it apart more. We got lots to talk about.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Let's go in that
I have
order. Will
plenty of
Wilkins,
things
you
to rebuttal your guys'
exactly.
thing. Yeah. So
Go
Let
ahead,
me tell
Will.
you. Yeah, let me tell you something. In the terms of John Oliver, if I may get very colorful here, this movie fucks. Okay, there's no other way to put it. This
yeah,
is
it's very
this
John
is
Oliver, yeah.
outside of the experiences I had with the original trilogy. This is one of the most powerful and most well told Star Wars stories we've ever received. And that is in even in light of everything else that we got. The only thing that comes close, like you guys said, is Andor, because it's telling us the story of also how we get to this point in a way.
Yeah, right.
In all seriousness, it is by far one of my favorite Star Wars movies, because also most importantly, not a Jedi to be seen, not a single Jedi in this one. And just an amazing cast of characters that just like obviously this is how we get introduced to Cassian Andor, and we know very early on he's a guy that he's about the cause, and he's a realist.
He'll do
in
whatever
it
he
too.
needs to do. Yeah.
Exactly.
No matter how hard it is.
And again, and another amazing robot, K2SO is just
He's so good.
so good, and
God, I
voiced
love
by
him.
Alan
He's good at
Tudyk.
playing
Yeah,
robots,
Tudyk.
right? He's good at that.
And to
man.
find out that the hand smack thing was
Yeah.
ad-libbed.
And you can see
What?
Diego
Yes.
Luna hiding his
He's
laughter.
like hiding
He
his laugh. I
breaks.
know, my God, it's so it's amazing.
It's
Do you
just
think Alan
it-
actually
like
like hit him on set? Is that
he
what
may
really
have.
happened?
He may have in the
I
dotted
think
suit.
it's also the line too.
The
they
the
said
line
that,
delivery.
that makes him laugh. Yeah.
Another
He's like,
one
"And
for
there's
you.
a fresh one
One-
if you actually or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's how much I love this movie. Okay, I'm thinking, oh no, you know what? I'm gonna have my shit together. I'm gonna put together some notes for the real study.
There you go.
And I'm gonna, because I've seen this movie so many times. If there's
And, like,
anyone I
stop
can
taking
sit and I can take notes during, it's this.
Right?
Here's the total of the notes, guys.
Yeah.
In its originality too, this movie starts hard because it starts with a jump scare. Okay. Why does Krennic land so far away?
I thought the same thing. There's so much of that black material. He could have landed right next to the grass.
Yeah.
I got as far as I find that answer vague and unconvincing, and the notes have stopped at this point because from the moment
right
of
back
Krennic
in.
walking in, I'm locked in now.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh wait, it's really amusing. Yeah, that's a great line from K2SO. Let me put that, and then that's
Mhm.
it. Then now it's all
That's
just
funny.
I'm engrossed with the movie.
love
It is
that.
it
But
is
even
by
the
far
visual, yeah.
Right.
Even the visual of him coming in and being at this kind of opposite with him in white and like his stormtroopers in black,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
the kind of opposing vision of like what we normally see.
Yeah.
Right. That's a
yeah.
good
So
point.
it's just it is Star Wars Prime as far as I'm concerned. In being able to show that there are other stories you can tell in this galaxy, and they can be interesting.
Yeah.
I like
not
that you
have
said
to
Star
be
Wars Prime.
attached to Skywalker and like all of
Right.
that, you know, and like
Yeah.
Jedis, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Well,
I
the
love it.
books managed to do a ton of stuff outside of Jedi's.
Yeah.
And so I think somebody was like, hey, let's get more of that in there. But I like that you call it Star Wars Prime because it really this moment, Rogue One, is the crux. Like this is the
Right.
tipping point between what happens with the Empire and what happens with the
You know,
Rebellion.
not to mention to have the balls to tell us in this story, because this thing that we've always heard of, not even though many people get this confused with the many Boffin spies that died in order to bring us this information. Nope, that's the other one, guys. This is the
that's the
first
second
one
Death Star. Yeah.
to discover that the success of the rebellion, the turning point, hinges on so many random happenstances. It was not planned out, and that it was truly a strong unit of committed rebels who even went against the alliance that they're calling
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
It
they're
was
like
the rebels. That
they're like
Yeah.
They didn't
shit
have
has
the
got to
backing of
be
everyone.
done, guys.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
nobody else is going to do it, we are.
Yes.
And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just like, oh my gosh.
Love it.
And to me, another thing about it, like you call it Star Wars Prime, I love that, you know, that concept, because there's so many great like act threes, like climactic ends in Star Wars, where this one does that as well. You have like this epic space battle going on. At the same time, you have this, you know, ground level assault going on, and then you have the more intimate kind of, you know, mission that has to be taking place as well, or attack that, you know, like so many like Jedi.
Return of the
Return of
Jedi,
the Jedi does the
100%.
same
Yep.
thing, and there's so many other, you know, Star Wars films that do that, where it's like, that follows that kind of thing as well. I loved it. Yeah.
We also get him on Calamarian doing his thing.
Yes, exactly.
So,
I'm like,
Janine, what
they're
did you
just
think of
destined to
Rogue
be
One?
admirals,
Rogue
I guess.
One?
Yeah.
Right? They have to be. What did you think of Rogue One this time around?
Yes, I love this movie as well. I attribute that to it being written by the man who wrote my all-time favorite movie. Yes, the 1992 ice skating rom-com, The Cutting Edge.
Toe pick.
Wait, who wrote that?
Tony
Is that-
Gilroy.
Okay.
Yeah, Tony Gilroy.
Yes.
Jesus, I thought I was watching Ghosts there for a second. What?
Also
See,
wrote
now you
Andor.
know.
So
Yes.
some of it.
But yeah, I mean, I love the story of this, and I don't think we get enough of characters who work for the Empire who are conflicted. And so I like that we get to see that with, you know, Galen and the pilot, and they make them really interesting, because I think, you know, I think that's what made Finn really interesting for me in The Force Awakens, because he, you know, obviously you're going to have people who are doing these evil things who feel some type of way about it. So not everyone is going to agree with kind of the evil antics. So I like getting characters that, you know, want better and, you know, feel guilt for what they have to do. So I liked getting to see that. I immediately kind of cared about all of these characters, even though I kind of knew what their fate was. Like Brian said, I still was holding out this hope that maybe they can get out of this somehow. And I think we talked a little bit about it before the show, that, you know, it's just heartbreaking that these people are risking everything and not knowing even if what they did made a difference.
Right.
And you know,
And we'll
after
never
they're
know.
gone, and they'll never know. Yeah. So that's incredibly heartbreaking. So the stakes, you feel all of that. I like that we get characters who, you know, still have faith in the Jedi, even though we don't see any. So that kind of aspect is still kind of a simmering piece of hope kind of underneath it all. And just very cool to see these kind of aspects of things that we know happen, that we heard happen, getting to kind of see it full on as this whole illustrated story, I think was just incredibly cool. So yeah, I mean, everything you guys said, I really, really love this movie.
I love it.
I think it proves how good the writing is in the fact that Galen is a character that's written where he identifies this is going to happen with or without me.
Yeah.
But now that my wife is dead and I don't know about my daughter, the best service I can do
is
attempt to cut this, use the system against itself, so I can put, because it was always kind of a contrivance in A New Hope, really, that there
Right.
just happened to be this one fault that some foolish engineer must have overlooked.
Yeah, so that learning it was an intentional thing.
Yeah,
The one
it
thing
made
he could do.
made
Yeah.
it a little bit better. And yeah,
See,
and
that's one of
you-
my gripes about the film. Actually, is
Oh,
that
no.
that was put in there. So for me, I get what you're saying. I this time around, my views on this film have changed. They've shifted dramatically. But I still watching this time, I was like, but this means that the engineers that figured out from studying the plans just found what was already there because they knew it was there, rather than being really good engineers and
No,
figuring
no,
out
no,
a
no.
problem. So
It
that
doesn't
to me
take
feels
Eric, it doesn't take that away from you at all, because if you think about it, they never got the full message.
No,
The
that's true. They
Alliance
only got
never
the-
got the
yeah.
full message. They never got
That's
the
a good
full
point.
intent. They never knew what happened. They just knew there might be something there.
Thank you
And
for
that's
fixing
it.
that.
They don't.
So-
Yeah, they
I
don't know the whole
appreciate
story
that.
behind it.
Yeah,
so
we
they're
know
ab-
the whole story. That's one of
Yeah.
those situations where we
Which-
know, but they don't know.
Which makes actually, if you're seeing this movie right now instead of waiting until Andor season 2 is over, was I think my only disappointment. But
Yeah,
it
me
really,
too.
Yeah, I was gonna
But-
think that. Yeah.
yeah, but it really does kind of. There was like in one of the most recent episodes, Saw Gerrera says, I won't live to see if this is a success or not. Which
we were
is
talking about. Oh wow, okay.
which is
Yeah.
which is a great line to throw in now, knowing once you see Rogue One,
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
what happens. I mean,
Yeah.
it's creepy to see that he's basically a diesel huffing freak, but other
Yeah.
than that,
I
seeing
think of him as low rent Darth Vader. So like
There you
he's got all the same stuff Darth Vader has, but it's like low end and
Like
it's
older
not
tech
high
and
end.
like-
Yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah.
older
Fair
tech
enough.
and the bare minimum to
Rebel
make it work.
version. Yeah.
Right.
fair enough.
Yeah, just
Same with the
put these
feet, you
together.
know. And I even had to. We were talking about
Yeah,
why
he's got
didn't
two
he go
different
with
feet.
them? Right, he does. Why didn't he go with them? I don't think he could have gotten out there fast enough. If you look
No.
at,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
even
he
if he
can-
started
and
walking right
he
away.
says that. He says he's
Right.
like practically falling apart essentially.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's sad, but it is what it is.
But he can
I-
still
I-
grow his hair though, which is great.
Right?
Right?
Yeah.
But realistically speaking, though, I think the other thing too is when you see this Saw Gerrera versus the one that we're seeing in Andor, he does some pretty horrific shit to the pilot
Yeah.
because he has such a high level of paranoia.
Yeah.
And then when he sees,
He's off the deep end. Like yeah.
oh God, why am I forgetting her name? Jen.
Jane.
Jin, when Jin shows up and like one of the questions that he asks is, did they send you to kill me?
Kill me?
I
Yeah.
know, like still, like
yeah.
Yeah,
Still
I think in
paranoid.
that moment, I almost feel in a way Saw may have had a moment of clarity and just said,
Mhm.
I've come too far.
Right.
And yeah, I'm a bit effed up. So
Right.
just
Yeah,
bring
exactly.
the storm on. This is a
right.
good way
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I did see this for the first time in theaters, I think my biggest problem was I'm not a prequel fan. Not a prequel, but no, that's right, a prequel fan. I don't like movies where I know what's going to happen to characters because I struggle with that. What's going to happen to them because I know. Now with these characters, I didn't know who they were, so for all I know, they disappeared and aren't dealing with the rebels again, or
Right.
there were ways we could explain them away pretty easily. What I thought was interesting on the flip side of that was like Blue Group being a wing of the Rebel Alliance that we never got to hear about, and of course they all went either into that planet and got destroyed, or they
Also
wrecked
Red
on the
5.
surface.
Yeah, I was
Goes
gonna
away,
say
like-
Okay, Red 5. Like, why
you
is there
did
a
hit on the
vacancy?
one.
Now
That's
we
like
know.
my only gripe about the whole movie. It's like, oh yeah, sure. Let's make sure we know why that seat's available. Let's make sure we put that in
They
there.
also used two clips,
it's
so
like-
Gold Leader
yeah,
and
that
Red
footage,
Leader are
I know.
really from
That was
a
it,
New Hope.
yes. I forgot
They
about
did a
that,
good job
yeah.
of like porting that over and making the color grade a little better.
And,
Yeah.
and when I saw that on this rewatch yet again, I was still just like, I never was annoyed by that. I'm like, oh, that was a pretty clever
Yeah.
way to do it.
Yeah.
Give us some continuity.
I
Yeah.
agree. Now, what I don't like is digital
Red
faces.
5, what are you doing?
Digital faces can be a little, and the whole Peter Cushing digital Grand Moff Tarkin. I understand why he's in the movie. There's
I don't
no
know.
getting away from it.
I think it's really well done. I mean,
Yeah.
I
I think
just-
it
it's
looks really
Uncanny
good.
Valley for me.
Yeah.
It
Here's-
still sticks out.
I know. I felt it was more Uncanny Valley with Leia than Tarkin.
Yeah,
for some
Leia
reason.
did
agree.
not look great.
But
Like,
they
Yeah.
also tried to not make her move
just have
very
Billy
much,
Lord come
Right.
and
Yeah.
just have Billy
Right?
Lord do
Billy
it.
Lord was
I
such
know.
would've done it.
She could- yeah, yeah.
or even who's the one that plays 11?
Oh,
Millie
Millie
Oh,
Bobby
Millie
Brown.
Bobby Brown.
Yeah, Millie Bobby Brown as well. But you know, here's the litmus test. I think about it now, and I really should apologize to my eldest daughter because I took her to this movie with me. But I'll give you the uncanny valley test. I asked her about like each of the characters, and then when it came, I'm like, "Did you know that was a digital character?" Oh, I had no idea. So like, we might have butted up against it because we knew. I thought they did a pretty darn good job.
Yeah.
Well, it's now 10 years old, and it's hard, you know. If
Yeah.
you go back and watch
So,
Tron
yeah.
Legacy from 2013. It's
You know,
like,
can't
oh,
they
that
take a
is-
note
gosh,
from
that
old
was
George and
awful.
just give us some refreshed faces on these
Well,
things?
they
Come
should
on,
be
man.
able to. Like, that's something that can be done. Why isn't The Last Starfighter been redone with new digital effects? I'm just saying. I know that's an aside, but keep all the
'Cause
original
it-
footage and just put in the new digital.
Because they're an adorable photograph of the time where 3D graphics were,
We can
man.
have both.
Plus, like,
We
Have you
both.
have you
like,
gone back and looked at
historically, it's like a big deal, you know.
have you gone back and looked at the original Toy Story and
I know,
and
it's
appreciated
rough.
for its
rough.
quaintness now?
Right.
Yeah,
It's so my
dang.
daughters watch it, and I'm just like, "Oh, Woody, you're looking a little polygony there,
Yes,
dude."
like,
Like,
all
Yeah.
of Andy's
a little
friends
rough.
look exactly
Talk
like
about
him.
Uncanny
Exactly.
Valley.
Yeah, all the kids
Yeah.
look exactly the same.
It's almost a horror show.
Yeah.
This movie is so relevant right now. It's not even funny.
Right.
Like the idea that the line "rebellions are built on hope" is like, oh, it just like hits you.
Yeah.
That line just like rolls right over you.
There's some
and
other stuff
knowing-
she said too, like when she talks about like that line, like I think it was Saw talks to her about. Wait, is it Saw that says? I can't remember which actor now or which character says to her, like you're okay with like Imperial flags being flown.
Oh yeah,
or
as long as I
something
don't
like
look
Yeah,
up.
as long as
that.
I
Yeah,
don't
you
Yeah.
don't have
look
a
up,
problem if
right.
I don't look up, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
and that's
Yeah,
so
because,
relevant too because
yeah,
some
it's
people feel that
just
way.
wanna put their head in the
Yeah,
sand
it's
and
just
not.
like
Right
it's
now.
tough.
It's not
you
affecting
know?
me, so I'm not
Right.
gonna worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and plus, like,
Yeah.
like all she's known is like the rebellion, and this whole thing has just been nothing but pain
Yeah,
for her.
and taking
So why
her
would she
father
wanna,
away
like,
from her, and like,
right?
yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what's the point? Yeah.
Right.
No, it's wild how well, if you even listen to George Lucas right now, because he's out still talking about what's happening. He's very clear about the fact that he wrote these movies, even the original trilogy, to highlight this situation and what this
Yeah.
all means. And the parallels are always the same. It's so obvious how the same they are. So how people can grow up and be like, yeah, the Empire's the good guys. I'm like, what the fuck are
Right.
you
Yeah,
talking
Like,
right.
about?
you were not rooting for the Empire when you're watching these
No.
movies. Like,
Yes.
come on,
And
there's no
even
way.
like
Or-
even Yoda's lines, like, you know, hate leads to anger, it leads to, you know, fear leads to hate, hate leads to anger,
Yeah.
etc. It's like, how can you take that line and act like that's a bad guy saying that? Like
Yeah.
that's
Right.
a good guy saying
Yeah.
that. And the same thing with Endor or with Rogue One and Andor. You've got characters who are pushed so far into a corner that they don't have any choice but to push back and react at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
No matter how big the danger is. My wife said something hilarious. She's like, I'm just glad they don't have the Force and that we're just going against people. And I'm like,
Right.
I agree. That would be a
Yeah.
lot harder to deal with because then we'd have to have Force sensitive people ourselves, and that, you know, hope there's a Luke out there.
Yeah.
But there's no Luke
Yeah.
out there. We are Luke. If you will. We are Luke. We are Groot. Anyway. I love Mads Mikkelsen, just even though it's a tiny little part.
Yeah, because I don't think we get to see him be a good guy very often.
No.
Right. Not much. He's either a criminal.
He's
or
like
he's
in every
a
franchise. Too. I
cannibal,
mean,
or
Yeah.
I mean, he's in Marvel. He's in Indiana Jones. He's
in Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. Yeah, Star Wars. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
but then we also with Solo we didn't even bring up Jude Law, or not Jude Law, but what did I say?
Yeah,
Jude
Paul
Law?
Bettany.
Paul Bettany,
Paul Bettany, yeah,
being the
yeah.
bad guy, but then also being in
Yeah.
Marvel. So like,
Yeah.
it's pretty obvious. If you work for Disney, you're gonna likely find
Yeah, you're
another
gonna
in on
work
another
your way
franchise,
Find that
else,
bridge. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because the leader of Enfrid's Nest or whatever the hell the name was.
Yeah. Yeah.
That girl.
was-
She also showed up in, I think,
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you know they're gonna move you around.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought the reveal was. They were trying to tell us, yeah, this is the girl from Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm like, oh, that's a weird reveal.
For me, that reveal thing, I think was more of like you weren't expecting it to be this young woman.
A young
yeah,
girl
yeah.
specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
So
But it still felt like the music felt like
you're
it's
supposed to
Sean
know.
Connery at the end of Prince of Thieves, right? Where you're like, oh, the guy who played Robin Hood last
I
time
love
is
that.
now in a Robin Hood movie. Like that's what it felt like they were trying to do. Anyway, I digress. I think that the character that you brought up, Janine Bodie, who was the Imperial character who turned to the good side.
Yeah.
This is a character that I think is one of the most consequential characters in the film because without him, none of this happens, right?
Yeah.
But it also shows that just because people chose wrong doesn't mean we should outright reject them if they're willing to come back to the light side. If somebody
like Jin
takes a
advising
stumble-
him, like telling him, if you do this, you will feel better about kind of all these things that we've been doing. You know, make this difference, and it can make you feel better about everything else. Yeah,
And that line that K2 says to him after he like blasts a bunch of Imperial people, he's like, well, you're a rebel now. Like
you're all in, buddy.
Yeah, I think that's the one droid I cried over in the Star Wars universe.
That was
I
so
definitely
hard.
cried over him.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, because there was a real feeling of sacrifice. He knew what was going on. And the way they represent him powering down and taking damage and powering down, that was, and also, it hits twice as hard because he's so damn endearing through the whole thing,
he makes peace with Jin right before. He's giving them advice on what to do because he knows he can't.
Like, how do they have a droid have a character arc?
Not me. I can survive in space.
Yeah. So good. Oh man, I love just the little things he does too. Just like so much sass. Like when Jin gives him that bag to go, is like, and he says, sounds like a good idea to me, and just drops the bag. Just like casually drops.
And he's like, and I'll be there for you too. Cassian made me.
Cassian made me. Yeah.
There's gotta be a back. It's gotta be a back.
Like the pause, and then
right
Cassian told
now
me I had to.
Jin shows her loyalty to him pretty quickly too, because as soon as he's going to get shot, she steps literally right in front of him and goes, "Oh, he's with us." Which is fantastic.
Which is an interesting contrast to the scene at the village where he's like, "Did you know that wasn't me?"
Of course.
Of course, yeah. Every other Imperial droid like that looks or doesn't look around. You're being weird. You got weird mannerisms about you.
Yeah, there's so many fun. He has so many great lines, like the one where he's like, there's an awful lot of explosions for two people trying to blend in.
Right?
Oh no, but you didn't need my help.
Yeah, you didn't need my help.
And then he sends him back to the ship anyway. The Star Wars of it all, as far as the world that they built, I love seeing that we got AT-AT walkers in this that were armored down to a degree. They weren't as built up as the ones we see on Hoth, and so they're pretty easy to take out. A lot easier to take out than on Hoth.
Now, do you think that was bad design, or was it because it's in a more tropical environment and not having to resist the elements?
I think that it's on a planet where they don't have any resistance, so they're just troop transports are like carrying crap around. So I don't think there's like a need to armor. Yeah, there's no need. One of them is like wide open and they blow it.
Hey,
I know.
In the middle.
Hey, Tony, we got to move these crates. Go get the AT-AT.
Go get the
It's like a tank pulling a trailer in a way, but the trailer's built into the body.
Now I'm seeing. Well, now you mentioned like you say like that little bit there. Now I'm imagining like there's like moving companies in the Star Wars universe that use AT-ATs.
Yes, there are. AT-AT moving companies. Join us. We'll use our old AT-AT. No, it's weird. The actor or the comedian that does that did the college humor Batman and the X Professor X. I always forget the comedian's name. But he was on Conan.
Dang it.
Where he's doing he's always got the almost kind of fat Batman face under the cowl, like it's poofing out. Anyway, he did the Conan episode where he was.
Are you talking about Pete Holmes?
Pete Holmes, thank you.
Yes.
Pete Holmes is the guy I'm talking about. He did a Conan episode where he was asked, what he thinks about British accents in space movies like Star Wars. And he's like, why is it always a British guy, either in Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or something like that? And he ultimately was like, probably because at least that one's like regal enough that we can believe it. If it was just some guy from Brooklyn out there going, hey, go get the droids. You know, it just wouldn't
Yeah.
work out
Exactly.
for you, right? These
Like a
ain't the
Bob
droids you're looking
accent.
for.
Like,
You know, like
yeah,
it
yeah.
wouldn't sound quite right,
Yeah.
which I thought was perfect. British people
Move
have to
along,
be
you
the
son of a
villains. I'm
bitch.
sorry. Yeah, move
Yeah, and
along. I love it.
it's instant currency of believability.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know why.
It does. And then, you know, so the actor that plays the villain, I always forget his name, Ben Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mendelsohn.
Love his, like, he's got
so
bad guy
good.
face, right? He just,
Yeah.
he exudes bad guy. And just his unique voice and the way he
Mhm.
talks just gives evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite actors.
I
that
think he
can do
was like
that.
on
I
a
just love it.
radio show and he was reading the lyrics to I Just Can't Wait to
Mm.
Be King. And he just made it sound so
Oh, wow.
evil.
That's awesome.
Like he wasn't even doing
Um,
Scar. He was doing like Simba's happy song and he made it sound so sinister just with his voice.
So funny.
What was my wife
Also,
saying
I
that he was
love
on?
too that like puns aren't even like even Darth Vader is not immune to puns. You know,
Yes.
so
Right.
yeah, that
Choking
was
on your
pretty great.
ambitions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
See what I did there?
See
I
what
know.
I did there?
I was waiting for
I loved that moment, and this is there's
Yeah.
always been this like debate about who's
Yes.
the most
A lot of
badass
people
Sith,
didn't
right?
like that. A lot of people
Uh-huh.
I
didn't
liked
like
it
that, yeah.
because I'm sorry, the dude was facing away from you and figured out where your windpipe was. Okay, he can figure that out just by
Yeah.
feeling around with the Force.
Mhm.
There's this big debate that's always happened with Star Wars fans that, oh, I think Darth Maul could kick Darth Vader's ass, blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, wait, you mean the guy that has to point at rocks to move them with his mind versus the guy that can sit on the other side of a 6-mile long ship and choke you to death? You're
Right.
going to compare them? I don't think you should be comparing
Yeah.
them.
I mean, just like in the hallways that
hallway
that
scene,
corridor
yeah.
scene alone, just like
Right.
yeah.
Please.
Well, and then
So
that's something I think that we as fans had earned the right to finally see. It's like,
Right.
just it's always just like the
ultimate
light
fan service.
goes on, and then there's
Purposeful.
devastation. And it's like, how did it happen? And
Right.
and this was just like, oh, now I fully understand.
Yes.
Right. His entrance in A New Hope is more meaningful because you're like, not only is this
Look what
Darth
he just
Vader,
did,
but
yeah.
he just did this to people. He's going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How ruthless he is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. Any other thoughts on Rogue One you guys want to bring up?
We didn't really talk about Donnie Yen. Great
I
action.
know, like he's one of my
him.
favorite characters in
Yes.
this. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I'm blind.
That was hilarious. That was, but at the
That's
same
so
time,
good.
how do you gonna trust? Like, you do you know? Like, if I'm the
Right,
stormtrooper, I'm
you
still
actually
gonna
know
put
is-
that cap
yeah.
on him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
Yeah.
come
You
on,
tell
after
me.
you first saw this movie, how long did you walk around going, I'm one with the Force, and
I'm
the
one of
Force
the
is
forces
with
with
me.
me. Yeah. That totally.
Well, it also says something about the fact that in a way the Force is more just hope than it is
Yeah.
just into a power,
Yes,
and that
belief.
power can be channeled through people.
And him
I love
channeling it
that.
through that in that final moment to get to that switch. Like,
Right.
yeah.
They didn't even know what it looked like. Bodhi had never gotten to tell them what it looked
Yeah.
like, and so he used the Force to literally do that, which I thought was fantastic. And everything in Star Wars is one of those like great knobby things, even on
Yeah.
the Death Star.
Yeah.
They do a great job with that. Yeah, both the characters, Donnie Yen's character, as well as his partner in crime,
Yeah.
are fantastic.
Love
Mhm.
them.
And then the Jimmy Smits of it all. We didn't talk about that either. The fact that Jimmy Smits helps tie the prequels to the original trilogy by being in this film, by talking
Yeah.
about how he
Mhm.
worked for General Kenobi or with General Kenobi. And then he goes, I got to get back to Alderaan. I'm like, don't go. Please don't go.
Right.
I don't
I
want you to
know.
die.
You're like, oh,
I wish I could tell you. I wish I could jump in
Yeah.
and tell you. As much as I don't want everybody on that planet to die, I still think he would have been a hell of a leader in the rebellion and would have helped.
But there's only like two like real gripes I have about this movie that kind of like don't make sense to me. Okay. And it's all from the end sequence, because how is it R2 and 3PO are first on the ground making commentary about this?
I
But
made the same thing about before
But-
we started. Yeah, I talked
but
about
then the
They're
I
supposed
think
to
the
be
name
on
of
the
the, is the
blockade
name of the
runner, yeah.
ship the Corvette, or
So it's a Corellian Corvette is the like loose
Corvair?
nickname.
Okay, gotcha.
But
So,
it's a Rebel Blockade Runner is the name.
but let's not remember that was leaving the main ship. So not only is he like, yo, I'm going back to Aldron, but I'm going to trust my kid to do this. After her ship is going to go with the main ship into this really nasty ass battle. That's one either confident dad or they called it at the last minute. They're like, hey, sorry, princess,
they
but
made it audible. Yeah.
We got to go do this.
Obi-Wan, right? But with Obi-Wan, we see why, because she probably was like, no, dad, I'm doing this. And
that's probably more. Yeah, that's probably more true. Yeah.
So it's interesting to see all these characters pop back up. We got some more guesses from Hannah about our ratings here. I love it. Any other thoughts that you guys want to throw out before we rate?
I mean, Greg Fraser shot this.
There you go.
Let it go, bro. Let it go.
I won't.
Never.
There was one thing. This is such a little tiny thing, but the guy that comes out and tells them, hey, they went to the planet without your permission. Of course, Mon Mothma smiles a little bit, which I love. The guy that runs up, they're like, what is it, private? And he's like my age.
I know. I'm like,
but I was like, they're recruiting people from anywhere.
Anywhere they can get them.
Because he should be a kid.
Right. He should be either a kid or should be a much higher rank, right? One or the other.
Right.
But it shows that it doesn't matter. You're new. Get on that console. Let's start you out as a private. Which is very realistic. If we were to recruit people right now into a military, if you were old, you'd still be a private. If you had
There's something you can do so we can send the other people to do the other things.
Right. You're a desk jockey. Get to it, private.
Exactly.
Which is good. I think these
there's one thing too that like always like it's this really tiny thing because like the trailers I vividly remember a lot of the trailers because I watched them like a million times. I was so stoked to see this film. But there's the one trailer where she's walking out to the platform to like dislodge the antenna array or whatever. In the trailer, there's a damn TIE fighter like appears right in front of her, but that's not in the film. And I was like, oh man, I really like what was gonna happen there.
When she
like,
was
I
up
would
on
have
the
wanted
tower.
to see that. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but we don't see that.
Dude, there was also the great line read that we never got where she says something along the lines of like, well, you guys are rebels and I rebel.
Right.
And it's like,
yeah. She
why didn't we get that?
Right.
Anyway.
And I think we discussed this last week because we were talking about Jurassic Park because Mr. Marblite was with us, but it definitely seems like they cut those trailers so far in advance that when they finally do the final cut of the film, they're just like, nah, that's
we just need out. It's not going to fit in.
For a trailer.
And you only have so much footage to build a preview with sometimes because they haven't finished, which is still great. The changes are one, I think part of why the Mandela effect is so prevalent today.
Yeah,
but I think two, it just shows that you just got to wait for the final product. Don't trust the preview. Does it excite you? If so, go see the movie and forget about it.
How dare you? After this, I'm gonna watch Shazam.
Yeah. Going back to Solo, like those trailers, I didn't really make me excited for the film. There was like a fan-made trailer where they just added sabotage to it.
Oh wow!
And it just made it
that like made me like I was like, oh okay.
That will inherently make any trailer cool.
Yeah, I was like,
you could do that. Okay. You could recut Sister Act with that. Yeah, I'm telling you.
Pride and Prejudice.
It made those Star Trek movies incredibly cool.
It
totally. That was the idea. Yeah, that they got. So yeah, it totally made Solo like way more appealing.
Love it, Brian. Give us your rating of Rogue One. By the way, I'll tell you what her guess was after. Just give us
okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna say, I don't know. I really love it. It's a 9.5 for me.
Ooh, 9.5. She guessed a 10, so she was
close.
Yeah. How about you, Will? What do you rate it?
I would rate it 11 out of 10 because it's one louder for sure.
Yeah,
love it. One louder, love it.
That's coming back I think, to theaters.
So 10, I assume. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, nice.
She said 100 out of 10, so she was pretty close. I'd say
fair enough.
Yeah. How about you, Janine?
Yeah, brain twin. 9.
All right.
Yeah.
9.5. And she said Janine's would be 1,000 out of 10. So I think she just kept seeing the excitement as we were on the cycle. For me, she said 7 out of 10, which I am not going to agree with that. When I rated it before, I don't think I want to tell you guys are going to go look anyway. If I don't, everybody goes on my letterbox and goes, "What did he rate it?" I rated it low. Like you guys would be shamed of me the way I rated it. But this time I would say it's an 8. This is a solid film. I think it's an important film. I think if you need some unsubscribe. I'm sorry. I'm changing my mind as we speak. I think if you need
Watch
some hope,
and maybe
right?
you'll change your mind.
Well, there you go. But if you need some hope, if you need something to glom onto, this movie has that. And I think if you need a boost, it's still sad in ways, but that's life. Like, life is a reality.
I mean, there's a reason why we don't see them in A New Hope moving forward, right? That was easy.
Right.
Well, if we take this slate and we just wipe it clean, we don't need to worry about any of that continuity nonsense.
And that is a good way to deal with a prequel. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Will, you had something you said you wanted to leave for the show, and then we got to call it for the week.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, one of the things you should do is at the end of the episode, and apologies if you already do this. Nobody's asking me for these things. It's why the women in my life can't stand me. Look, listen, see this thing, smell it too. I don't care. At the end, like if you announce the movies that you're doing next week, before anyone rewatches them, you should capture what their rating is. So that way it's like before this was your rating as well. And now your rating is this. I mean, obviously the whole guest thing screws that up, but everybody that was here, right. What did you think? What did you think you were going to rate it? And then what?
And then we compare it to next time.
Yeah. It's like rating it on memory. I give it this, but then again, it falls apart if nobody's seen the movie too. So never mind.
Yeah. Right. But I mean, we can at least get those. We've done that before. We kind of used to do it with our, we had what would you have rated it if you were 12?
Your 12-year-old self.
Adult self.
You should have cut me off 2 minutes ago. This would have been left. This would have been best left on the cutting room floor. It's okay though.
But we're all live, so there is no cutting room floor here. That said, we will not be doing a show next week. It is Mother's Day, and I want to spend my wife's day with her, doing whatever she likes to do. So we're going to skip the show, and then we'll be back. Right? We'll be back the week of the 17th. I think it'll be the 18th is when we'll be back. And then we'll be announcing those movies next week. We have not picked those movies yet. Do watch out for our Man of Steel episode, where we will be watching and reviewing and debating about Man of Steel in depth before Superman comes out. That said, Will Wilkins, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you every time.
My pleasure, man. It's always fun.
Right, we enjoy talking to you. And Janine, Brian, thank you guys always for being amazing co-hosts. And it's Star Wars on Solo.
He shot first too.
He did, absolutely.
I love how they had to throw that in there.
Yes,
absolutely, 100%. This has been episode 28 of season 4 of The Real Study. We appreciate you guys. Have a great night.
Bye, guys.
May the 4th be with you.
Happy birthday.